Although my wife and I enjoyed our time visiting Barcelona in Spain, there were a few aspects of the city that made me scratch my head and feel a little perplexed. I will explain how these feelings of confusion arose throughout this video. Some of the things I'll discuss might be a little bit controversial, but I welcome your respectful dissent in the comment section. My name is Ryan, my wife Emily and I are the Snail Travelers. On our first day in Barcelona, we headed over to the Eixample neighborhood. This is where we found one of the things that Barcelona is most famous for, which is examples of architecture produced by Antoni Gaudí. And this is also the first experience in Barcelona where I felt a little conflicted and confused because I just couldn't decide whether or not I like this style of architecture. It is weird, it is fascinating, it is ridiculous, it is brilliant, it is grotesque, it is beautiful. Many architects love Gaudí's work, others hate his work, and I'm no expert when it comes to architecture. I'm just one guy with potentially flawed opinions, I suppose. But I would have to say that I don't love it or hate it. I'm just a little conflicted about it myself because it brings to my mind very contrasting adjectives when I think about how to best describe it. So this is going to be the first thing on the list of things about Barcelona that made me feel confused. The next area of confusion actually occurred before we even arrived in Barcelona. It involves buying tickets for La Sagrada Familia Cathedral. There is nowhere to buy tickets at the cathedral itself. They must be purchased online on their website. To make a long story short, our credit card was rejected when we tried to buy these tickets online, even though we had been using this credit card everywhere else in Spain. It went back and forth between the cathedral saying the problem was with our bank saying the problem was with the cathedral. We eventually gave up and used our debit card, which triggered a fraud alert even though I notified our bank that we were traveling in Spain. It all worked out and we got to visit the cathedral, but the process of working with our bank to finally get the tickets was a bit confusing and a bit of a hassle. From the pictures we had seen online, we knew La Sagrada Familia was big, but it wasn't until we arrived that we truly came to realize just how massive it is. The phrase, "pictures don't do it justice," absolutely applies here. The tickets start at €26 and go higher if adding on experiences such as the towers, and included with the ticket is an audio guide, and it included a video guide that was kind of neat. Since the cathedral is so big and it's hard to see things at a distance, I could point my phone to a specific location in the church, and then a video would appear on the screen that would show a closer-up detail of that location. The history of this cathedral is almost, if not more, fascinating than viewing and experiencing the cathedral itself. This church was conceptualized by Gaudí, the famous architect I told you about earlier in this video. Construction on the cathedral started in the year 1882, and it's still not completed yet. Unfortunately, Gaudí died when he was hit by a tram in 1926, but he knew he would outlive such a massive project, so he spent a lot of time building models, architectural renderings, and detailed instructions about specific features that he wanted to be implemented. And yes, because this is Gaudí, it has many of the somewhat bizarre, but at the same time fascinating aspects that you would expect. Now, visiting La Sagrada Familia was yet another confusing and conflicting experience for me. This is a cathedral, a place of worship, but to me, it only felt partially like a place of worship. The other part felt, I don't want to say like a theme park because that's not an accurate description, but it definitely felt more like a tourist attraction and less like a church. I'm not saying that's bad or good, I'm just saying that's how I felt. If I was deeply opposed to this being a tourist attraction, then I wouldn't have paid the €26 to enter. And we have visited other places of worship that have more of a tourist attraction feel, including Buddhist temples, mosques, and other churches in many different parts of the world. But I'm going to add this experience onto the list of things about Barcelona that did make me feel just a little bit conflicted. Emily and I decided we wanted to take a day trip to Andorra, which is a tiny country a few hours north of Barcelona. We bought tickets to get there with direct bus, and it was about a 15-minute walk from our accommodation to the bus station. Well, our first source of confusion is that we accidentally went to the chaotic train station. We eventually realized the bus station was across the street. Fortunately, Emily had read reviews for the bus station before we arrived, and that is how she found out that the tickets we bought online must be exchanged for new tickets at the bus station. We found the ticket window, showed them our passports, and got the new tickets we needed. This was confusing because the need to exchange tickets was never stated when we made the purchase, and some people were rushing to get new tickets at the last minute. It was also slightly confusing that the side of the bus had the name of a different company, although the marquee on the front did say direct bus. All this confusion was minor and it all worked out, but I'm going to add it to our list. So, the two main reasons normal people come to Andorra are for winter sports like skiing or for duty-free shopping. Well, we aren't exactly normal people, and the main reason we came to Andorra was to put another check mark on the list of countries we have visited. Andorra was my 76th country. We enjoyed a quick visit to this country that is 1/10 the size of the smallest US state of Rhode Island. Now, there wasn't any sort of absolutely magnificent tourist attraction in Andorra, but as you can see from these video clips, we did enjoy exploring and seeing a few interesting sights. But was it worth the $110 we spent on 2 round-trip bus tickets to come here just for a few hours? Well, as I said, we did enjoy our time in Andorra, but $110 is a lot of money to add that 76th check mark. And so I still feel a little unsure whether or not that was money well spent. The final thing I will talk about in this video is the issue of over-tourism here in Barcelona and why I feel conflicted about it. I did a search for the number of tourists that visit Barcelona each year, and depending on the source, the number is anywhere between 14 million and 32 million. But a similar search shows that the tourism industry here in Barcelona employs over 100,000 people, or between 5 and 10% of the city's population. There is no doubt that the massive number of tourists has an impact on housing availability and the cost of living for the city's residents. We decided to stay in an apart hotel in Barcelona instead of getting more of a residential apartment. This was our first experience in an apart hotel, where we get more than just a standard hotel room. It's an apartment with a separate bedroom, a living area with a sofa, and a kitchen with a stovetop so that we could prepare our own food during our stay. And unlike a residential apartment, we get a front desk in case we need help with anything. It had laundry facilities for an extra fee, a pool that we didn't actually use because it was too cold during the time of year we were there, and a fitness center that I used one time for about 10 minutes, only because I discovered that I could watch my favorite YouTube channel while exercising. We enjoyed our stay here other than the fact that the shower door was the world's loudest shower door. The apartment did cost more than what we would normally spend. It came to roughly $100 per night when including the cost of the city accommodation tax. But it was a pleasant stay. But yeah, in my opinion, over-tourism is a legitimate issue. It causes both aggravation to the residents, but also provides employment. I do feel a bit conflicted about my role in this issue. I don't know what the solution is, although I think an important step is finding the right balance. Obviously, not eliminating tourism entirely, but also not having it be out of control. So there you have it, the 6 reasons why I felt a little conflicted when we left Barcelona. But overall, I think Barcelona is a fabulous city, and I'm glad we had the chance to come and experience it. Here is our previous video from Valencia. I'll put our next video about living in Spain down here when it's ready. Here is our playlist with videos from other destinations around the world. And please hit that subscribe button as well. Thanks for traveling with us.